So we're wrapping up our conversation on the metal cutoff saw or metal chop saw, and we've talked about the safety and this proper setup of this machine in previous videos. Now it's time to talk about how to actually make a safe cut on this machine and show you how that is done. So what I'm going to talk about before we actually make this cut is there is a no hand zone on this machine. The no hand zone is the zone where you cannot place a hand. And on this machine, it's a single hand span zone. So I have to keep my hand at least one hand span away from the blade at all times. So if you take a look at this whole cut line here, that's potentially where the blade can be, and I need to keep my hand one whole entire hand span away. So I just simply put my thumb there, walk myself away, and that would be a safe place for my hand. I mean, on this machine, I'd say do not have your hand on this table whatsoever. This would be an okay place for me to maybe stabilize myself. On the right-hand side, there really isn't a place that is safe on this whole setup here, because one hand span from the cut line pretty much puts me off the edge of the machine. So I would just have this hand on the machine up here on the handle, and I would be okay to place this hand here for stability. Another place where you might want a hand is right on your material here. If your material is long, you just hold that on material there. Some people may have a little bit, long piece that they want to catch. It is okay for you to make a left-hand cut on this machine if you can manage that safely and hold the other end of your material. That would be fine as well, so that piece does not fall off, as long as you can manage running that handle left-handed. So that's the no-hand zone. That needs to be respected at all times. If you're going to enter the no-hand zone on this machine, you have to make sure that the machine is unplugged before you put your hand in there. So at no time plugged in am I going to place my hand in this zone. It's just bad practice. So now that I've got my product already properly mounted as per previous videos, and I've made myself aware of the no hand zone, I take a look around and there's nobody around that's a hazard to me, and I'm not a hazard to them. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the machine. And just basically shout out and let people know that I'm going to be cutting. So I'm cutting on the chop saw. That lets everybody know that it's going to be loud real quick here. I'll put on my last little bit of my protective equipment. All right. So now you have to depress this thumb lever here. There's a little button, a safety button. This doesn't do anything until I push that safety button, and then I can pull the trigger. Pay attention to the way I cut, and we'll talk about it after the cut. Now that the machine's come to a complete stop, it's now safe for me to lift it up and out of the cut. Okay, so basically you saw me plunging through the cut, and the reason that we are plunging is that gives the machine and the blade some time to cool off between each plunge. If you just simply start hogging your way through the material, you're going to cause the machine to bog down potentially, which is hard on the motor. And you're also going to heat up that blade quite a lot. And as you heat up the blade, you heat up the metal, and you might melt the metal into the blade. If you melt metal into that blade, it glazes up, and it will no longer cut. It's just going to be metal rubbing on metal. So for that reason, we do not just cut straight through. We do plunge cuts. It actually is much more effective as well and faster. The reason that I left the machine down the entire time after letting go of the trigger is because I do not want to lift out of the cut and risk the chance that I just automatically start removing my material. When that blade is spinning, it cannot be up. So for that reason, wait till it stops before you lift out of the cut. And that also gives you a little bit of time to let things cool off for a second. I would then grab these pliers to pick up the hot piece, this little hot piece that fell on the ground, and put it somewhere safe so that it doesn't burn anybody. And that's basically using the machine. If I am all done, then I'm going to think about cleaning up. I'll remove the waste material, I will remove any scraps that fell down, and I will always unplug the machine before walking away. Just leave that in plain sight, and that's ready for the next person to use.